This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 12th of January 2022, and I am Tujay.
I am Serbia.
And I am Miss K. Again, in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. Daily Nation, Raila maps blue, red and green poll zones. The Standard, blackout, the hard questions. The Star, Raila team pledges battle like no other. And finally, People Daily, Raila State House bid starts in Central. And I will begin right there. It's officially campaign season, and Raila Odinga is set to kick off his race for State House in Central Kenya. As Baba V begins campaigning, I would like to offer some unsolicited, humble advice. You must start your presidential campaign with why. A good campaign must have a why. And the why is the purpose, the cause or the belief around which you rally the masses. So Simon Sinek, in his book Start With Why, proposes a winning formula that Baba and his Azimio team should use to win the 2022 election. The formula is called the Golden Circle. The Golden Circle is made up of 3 concentric circles. At the center of the Golden Circle is why. The next concentric circle is how, and the outermost circle is what. The what is easy. It's for Baba to win the 2022 election. Baba also knows the how. I mean, the ODM team has already mapped the country into blue, green and red zones based on perceived support and hostility to Baba's presidential bid. But few presidential candidates can articulate their why, their purpose, their cause or belief, the reason for running for office. Baba V does have one, though. He has championed one core cause that has cut across all his presidential bids: the struggle for the hardcore poor, the sufferers who live below the poverty line, not the unstructured RUTO hustler nation that contains everyone from makangas to M-Pesa tycoons, but the sufferers who live below the poverty line and make up 26% of the population. That is why, in running his election campaign, Baba V should begin by stating that the why, the purpose of his campaign. And in our view, Baba's why is the power of 6,000 Kenya shillings and what 6K can do for the 2 million households it will reach. We have said in the past that 6,000 shillings is not a figure randomly picked from thin air. 6K is the calling card of the hardcore poor in Kenya. Those who live on less than 200 shillings a day, which translates to 6,000 shillings a month. By selling the why of what 6K can do, Baba V will convert more followers and increase his support base of 44% and win the election. Because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think if we're going to ask Baba to find his why, he also needs to find the people who will walk along that journey with him. And I think that there are some things that we know to be true in this upcoming election cycle. We know that 2022 will be a runoff election. Fact. This is because no single candidate has enough numbers on their own to reach the 50% plus 1 threshold in the first round. We also know that the One Kenya Alliance needs Baba more than Baba needs them. Why? Because from 2007 to 2017, Raila has consistently attained 44% of the total national vote. And he will do it again. Fact. So by using these election assumptions, it's possible to make a simple prediction. And this prediction is that OKA will form a pre-election coalition with Raila Odinga, and they're going to do it soon. Because that's the only option that makes sense for them. In our view, the OKA principles just have 2 options. Either to engineer a runoff by running independently and splitting the vote, or to pick a side and form a coalition now. The question in front of them is which option gives them the highest return? And in our view, the answer is to join Baba. So taking the first option OKA have, if they go into the first round of voting alone and they force a runoff, their assumption is that this will increase their bargaining power and make them more desirable. But this is a big risk that may just backfire. The terrain this time around is very different to previous election cycles. And if we're to take Baba's consistent 44% plus his sweeping success on the mountain, it's possible that Oka doesn't even have a value proposition. Maybe Baba doesn't need them at all.
True.
And this could actually be the reason why the bearded sisters and Moy Jr. have appeared so indecisive lately. They want to know who will secure their interests. And this is why option 2 is the only way. Remember, if Raila's presidency is to be a Mandela moment, it is in Oka's best interest to stay close to Baba. If they follow him into 2022, they will inherit him in 2027. Why risk joining UDA when there's a guy from Sugoi somewhere who might never give up power once he acquires it? Maybe. And this is how we have interpreted the information in front of us, and we could very well be wrong. But One Kenya Alliance should keep the following maxim in mind. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
True. And to add on to what Tujay has just said, today we would like to send a memo to the Oka principals. As you contemplate your options in the political purgatory you have trapped yourselves in, the only real option you have left is to decide whether you are going to negotiate now or later. If you refuse to answer this question now, in the illusion that you can go the whole way, then we have to be the bearer of bad news in letting you know that you will be consigned to the footnotes of history. But it doesn't have to be this way. Let's face it, unless you are actually wallowing in delusions of grandeur, a look at the tyranny of numbers means there is no clear path to victory at present for all of you, jointly or severally. The most you can hope for, as we have said before, is to engineer a runoff. This, however, comes with a risk. If you wait for a runoff scenario, assuming that there is no first round win, there will be less on the table to claim, as prime slots will all have been given away in earlier negotiations. And also there will be so many contenders jostling to join. However, early adopters have an opportunity to have a significant say in the running of affairs of the state by being major stakeholders and shareholders, especially in light of the changes to the political parties bill. At the end of the day, we have to remember one thing. Even as we make the argument for expanding the apex of the national executive from its current 2 positions to a possible 5, there are numerous prime positions outside these 5 slots. There are several cabinet slots and many parastatals and state corporations, each of them with a board of directors, many of whom are political appointees. Let's not forget the many embassies and high commissions all across the world representing our great republic, and a vast majority of these diplomats are political appointees. Furthermore, beyond the executive in all its expansiveness, Parliament will also require a Speaker for the Senate and a Speaker for the National Assembly. And these two, practically and politically speaking, are negotiated positions. Plus, of course, other various House leadership positions such as leaders of majority, chief whip, and the leadership and composition of the various House committees. Now, do not misunderstand us. We are not saying that Kalonzo is going to be the chief whip or the chairman of the Water Resources Authority to bring water to Ukambani. The point here, ladies and gentlemen, is this, that when we think about the leading politicians aligning themselves, we often limit our thinking to the positions that they as individuals will hold, whether as running mate or prime minister when BBI passes. We must, however, remember that in addition to what Kalonzo will secure in his name in a negotiated deal, there is also the important question of what he will secure for his compadres and compatriots. I mean, whenever you see a politician in high office, you must regard him or her as legion, for the interests they represent are many. And so this question doesn't only apply to Kalonzo. It is the same question Mudavadi must ask himself. It is the same question Gideon Moi must ask himself, and anyone else for that matter who really has a pragmatic view of our politics. If they wait until it is too late to negotiate, they each risk being scavengers as far as pork barrel politics are concerned. In our view, as the 11th hour fast approaches, someone like Kalonzo should secure the fruits of first mover advantage. Otherwise, chelewa chelewa utampata mwana si wako.
It's true, chalewa, chalewa. We have a 3-part criteria we use to judge the headlines for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking and thoughtful, or just plain lazy? Daily Nation, Raila maps blue, red and green poll zones. Standard, blackout, the hard questions. The Star, Raila team pledges battle like no other. And People Daily, Raila State House bid starts in Central.
I'd want to toss the standard, blackout, the hard questions, and not because the headline is incorrect, but I think that the way that we're framing this blackout,
I know, I don't like online what's being posted.
Yeah, no, we're taking it out of context, and I think we'll answer this when we look at the cartoons, but it reminds me of one of our favorite books, Factfulness, right? And in the book, the author talks about how things are actually better than we perceive them to be. And so when we look at the cartoons, I'll begin to explain and break that down.
Toss that completely and immediately. Well, I'll now say between the 3 Raila headlines, let's pick the best of them, and I'm partial to the Star.
Yeah, me too.
I like that one.
So I'll toss the other newspapers and give the Star the winning headline.
We're going to war.
Yes, we are. Battle like no other. Well, it's going to be awesome. Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, and just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the cartoons for you. We ask ourselves, are they humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and effective or just plain lazy? On your last thought, 2J, let us begin with that Daily Nation cartoon.
And on the Daily Nation, we have a picture of somebody who looks like a KPLC employee with a candle for a head, climbing an electric pole. This cartoon doesn't give much context beyond that, but of course this is in reference to the blackout that happened yesterday
and the day before.
And what I was explaining in reference to that book, Factfulness, and how things are better than they seem. Kenyans were up in arms about this blackout. Yet this doesn't really happen that often in Kenya.
Anymore, we should remember.
Yeah. And just to prove that point, I was looking at the average duration of electricity shortages in sub-Saharan Africa. So the most, in number 1, is Nigeria. They had in 2019, 4,600 hours of power outages.
4,600 hours.
Which is 192 days, or a third of the year, or 52% of the year.
You have to remember that Nigeria is generator nation.
Exactly. They have the resources for this. We compare this to Kenya, which had in 2019 as well 420 hours of blackouts, which is equivalent to 17.5 days, or 4% of the year. So Kenyans, pick up a book, pick up Factfulness, and realize that things are not always as bad as they seem. And we really ought to give KPLC quite a lot of credit. We were back up and running within a matter of hours. I think that's fantastic.
That is true.
On that note, I'm tossing the cartoon.
Toss it. I completely agree with you. Toss it. On to the Standard. And here we have a drawing of, I think, an unnamed hustler who says, well, he just told us to deliver the stuff to his place, then we get to keep the wheelbarrows. And on the RUTO 2022 wheelbarrows are some skeletons, some dangerous toxic materials, some ballot boxes, and a lot of trash, if I could call it that, sky high piled. And Wanjiko, the proverbial Wanjiko, is looking back, just wondering, really? This is the best you can do, dear UDA?
And the best you get is a wheelbarrow.
That's all you get. I'm just hesitant about it. I'm 50-50, so I put it in the parking bay and looked at
it.
Just that humor.
Okay, fine, executive decision. The Star.
I'm going to explain the Star. So a bullhorn microphone that is titled Hate Among Us has been disconnected from the socket and is in the dark. The phrase writes, those that shall endure a nationwide blackout
Shall have peace of mind.
This is in regards to the nationwide blackouts that occurred on Monday.
Yeah.
And it's also putting attention to politicians who are inciting violence with their hate speech remarks and inflammatory remarks.
That instead of Kenyans being disconnected from electricity,
it was the hate mongers being disconnected.
Yes, and this, of course, utterances provoke ethnic animosity. So we don't want an incident that is similar to what happened in Rwanda a few decades ago.
Yeah. All right. I think it's a thoughtful cartoon, but I wouldn't give it a winning cartoon.
No, for that reason, joining the others on the floor, we have no winning cartoon. Just as a reminder, we had a winning headline from the Star. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are back. You can find us also on your TV screens. We're in Pan, Free to Air, GoTV, and Star Times. I'll leave you with a quote from Franklin Roosevelt, remembering those hate mongers. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happened, you can bet it was planned that way. Do have a great evening.